What if I told you that the secret to success is hidden in your everyday tasks? So small, yet so impactful that most people actually overlook them. In this video, I want to break down my daily and weekly non-negotiable tasks, where I'm going to break down kind of my simple plan of how I know that if I do a handful of things every day and every week, that I'm going to hit my goals for myself in my business and in my personal life. Now, since leaving corporate and going out on my own and starting my own business in 2014, I've learned that success is not based off of a bunch of big moves. It's actually about the small daily habits and rituals that we commit to each and every day. One of my friends, Phil Graham, says we behave our way to our goals. And I think that really makes sense, because if you've read James Clear's book on Atomic Habits, he says you got to build small habits, make big plans. And by keeping our daily actions small, we actually end up getting 1% better every single day. And not only that, it feels way more manageable, even when you're playing a very big game. So building small habits, building small behaviors that you make sure you're doing every single day and at least every single week, some might not be required to be daily, that put you in a position to do the tasks that are required for you to hit your goals. So in this video, I just want to share some of my daily and weekly non-negotiables that have allowed me to build a 7-figure business, take home a healthy 6-figure income, and really only working 20 to 30 hours a week, depending upon the week. And I will give credit to a few people on this. I've learned from so many people. First, Dan Martell really kind of set a standard for me. He was one of my early clients in my agency and taught me the way of having kind of your daily and weekly non-negotiable tasks. I mentioned Phil Graham, who really emphasizes this behavior way to your goals. And then also Russ Perry from Design Pickle. I worked with him a handful of years ago in a coaching program that really kind of made this bleed more into my personal life and not just business. And that's, I think, in 2018 or 2019, when I worked with Russ Perry, a lot of these things really started to unlock for me. And I saw how this played across in my entire life. So let's jump into the daily tasks first. So here are my daily non-negotiable tasks. Number one is read 10 pages. I know that the content that I put out into the world is heavily based on what I consume. Garbage in, garbage out. No consumption. I don't have a lot of ideas. So I know I need to consume, but I need to consume certain things consistently. So at a minimum, I'm reading 10 pages of a book every single day. It gets my thoughts flowing. It's one of the first things I do. It doesn't take me 60 minutes, or it doesn't turn into this big 90-minute morning routine. I can read 10 pages very quickly, and I do it right on my Kindle in the morning so that I can create my highlights and have notes for later. So the first thing I do is read 10 pages. The second thing I do is write in my journal. I love the Day One journal app, mainly because I'm able to look back on history and see what I wrote. So for example, today, when I opened up Day One, I have written a post last year on this exact same day and also 2 years ago on this exact same day. So I get to quickly recalibrate and reflect on the progress that I've made, see what things I'm thinking about. Like for example, today, the time of recording this, a couple years ago when I journaled, we were like within a week of our daughter being born. And so I was journaling about all of the feelings and the emotions that I was having around welcoming her into the world, having a second child. We have a son who's a little bit older. And so now I'm going to have a daughter, and how is that going to impact my business? And very quickly, I get to see just how far I've come, how my thinking has evolved. And so by using this Day One app, not only does it serve the purpose of in that quick morning routine, I recalibrate and see how far I've come, which puts me kind of in the gain if you've read the book, The Gap in the Gain, but it also allows me to kind of capture what I'm feeling for the day. And real talk, this journaling, 95% of it would never be shared with anyone publicly. I sometimes wouldn't even share it with my family. It's oftentimes me releasing some anger, some frustrations, being upset at myself or being upset at others, and just releasing that into a place where I know it's safe and I can get it off my chest so that I can think about it with more of a clear head. So I don't know what your journaling process looks like, but that's mine. Hopefully that is helpful in some way. The daily non-negotiable number 3 is to move and sweat. Dan Martell has this saying, sweat every day. I want to make sure that I'm at least moving every day, whether that's mobility exercise, riding my e-bike, taking the kids to school every single morning, put 6 miles in on the e-bike and get your legs flowing, the juices flowing is really great. So I want to do something where I'm moving / sweating every day that keeps me active. The next one, the fourth daily non-negotiable, is to post a piece of content that is either writing or a short form video. This is kind of my off the cuff daily content. So I commit to releasing content at least 6 days a week that is sharing my thoughts, sharing things that are happening in as near real time as possible. So for me, I'm usually sharing that either either into our private Facebook group, which I'll link up below if you're an agency owner or service provider looking to scale. We got about 7,000 people in that group. Sometimes I share it on my personal profile, and sometimes I even share it on LinkedIn. Sometimes I kind of modify those and I share it across all platforms, but every single day I am publishing something. The next one is to check in with 3 clients. So in our Academy program, we have kind of both one-on-one and small group touch points with our existing clients. And so I just make a habit to say, hey, who are 3 people that I haven't talked to in a little bit or heard from? And I'm going to reach out to them privately just to check in and see how things are going. Another non-negotiable, this one's a new one, I've missed it a few times, if I'm being honest, is walking the dog. And this is one where I'm like, I just added it because I wanted to, 1, make sure that my dog's getting activity, and 2, it's just another way for me to move. We've had a lot of rain here in Denver recently, and our dog is not a fan of going outside in the rain. Like, I have to drag him, and I'm pretty sure he's traumatized from me dragging him out to go for walks in bad weather. So I'm trying to get him out and being active every single day with at least a 20 to 30 minute walk. Again, it's also good for me. Another daily non-negotiable for me is that I spend 60 minutes working on the business at a minimum. Now, my days at this stage are designed where most of my mornings are uninterrupted and I don't really take any meetings before noon. So I have well more than 60 minutes. But on other days that are designed more for calls and serving our clients, I do still want to get some time where I'm working on the business, looking at our metrics, putting together plans to help guide the team, and or even strategize some other bigger projects that are on my plate. So at a minimum, I need to be able to say that I've worked 60 minutes on the business every single day. The next one is to have fun. I'm shocked at how many entrepreneurs and business owners don't prioritize fun. For me, I'm always looking on my calendar, what's something that I know is gonna be fun. Getting to ride the e-bike to go pick up the kids and having us laugh along the way. Sometimes I kill 2 birds with 1 stone by doing that, right? I get to move and I get to sweat. I get to have fun just by being around the kids and the family. So I'm always trying to make sure that I'm at least acknowledging something that was fun that day. And lastly, I don't have a great name for this last one, but I'm going to call it the love deposit, which fundamentally is, am I making a deposit into my relationships, specifically with my wife and with the kids? That might be as simple as just acknowledging something that they did that I'm proud of or that I'm thankful for. Like, hey, thank you for preparing dinner for us when you're going to be out on a girls' night. That's super sweet of you. I really appreciate that. That's going to make my life a lot easier when I'm solo with the kids, or one of our kids does something nice for the other child, just acknowledging that. I want to be constantly making sure that I'm making deposits into the relationships that matter most to me. I think something that I learned from Russ Perry in that time working with him, and this is where that kind of came from, is oftentimes we are always focused on working on our business that we're actually neglecting a lot of our relationships. And then we ask for something inside of our relationship and kind of make that withdrawal, if you can think about a bank account, and the bank account's empty because we haven't been making any deposits. And so I want to go ahead and make sure that every single day I'm doing something to be making a deposit into that relationship account. Now, those are my daily non-negotiables. This does not mean that they need to be yours. Now, one thing I will say is that that might sound like a lot to you. For me, so many of those have become just a part of life that it doesn't feel like a lot, and they're just woven into the way in which I operate. But that started because they were listed out as my daily non-negotiables. So some of you guys need to create these behaviors and these habits, which take a little bit of time to develop, and it will just become a way in which you operate, so much so that, you don't even need to look at the list. For those of you that are asking, like, how do you track this if you do? One app that I love is called Streaks. You can see it here on the screen. You can set up your non-negotiables and you can set them up to happen a specific number of days a week. It could be set for daily, it could be set for 2 times a week, etc. Which leads us into my weekly non-negotiables. So some things I'm not doing every day, but I want to make sure that I'm doing them at least weekly. So I have a few weekly non-negotiables. One, I want a mountain bike at least once. My goal is 2, but at a minimum, if I'm not riding my mountain bike once, I'm a very unhappy person. So that's like a non-negotiable for me. Another weekly non-negotiable is checking in with each and every team member. I have time on my calendar once a week to go check in with team members and even share praise with them. And this is just sometimes in Slack, sometimes a voice message, where I'm just acknowledging and thanking the team for things that they're doing and the way that they play in the game. Every week, I send what is called a CEO newsletter. I learned this from Ryan Dice at scalable.co, digital marketer as well. And this is an email that I send to the team basically every single week, recapping our progress on our quarterly initiatives from the last quarter and sharing what's on my mind, what my top priorities are, and things that I'm thinking about and things that are on my mind for the upcoming week and forward. So this has been really useful since we've been implementing this. It gets the team inside of my head. They know what I'm thinking about, and we're constantly all clear and on the same page as to where we're going. Highly recommend that. Once a week, usually on Sunday mornings or Sunday evenings, I plan my week. So I look at all of the meetings on my calendar, I clean up my desktop, all of those things, and I just look at the week. I'm making sure that I'm optimized, because when I plan for the upcoming week, what tasks I'm focused on for those specific days, recalibrating on what meetings are there, canceling some that I don't need to be on anymore or aren't going to serve me, I'll almost always free up 5 to 10 hours of just being productive and working on the right thing because I went into the week with a plan. Another weekly non-negotiable is I want to be like lifting weights twice a week. My preferred exercise is mountain biking. I'm not a huge fan of being in the gym, but I do want to get in there and lift weights. So I do some sort of strength training twice a week. Publishing a YouTube video. If you've been following me, obviously on this channel, you would notice if you look back, I've released at least one video every single week since I've started recording YouTube videos, which I believe was in 2015. And I have not missed a week. So that is a non-negotiable. It's a huge piece of our content engine, bringing clients into our world and people like you helping serve the world in an unselfish way, but also bringing our ideal clients to us. And the last one is sending at least 3 emails a week to our email community. We want to be always adding value and encouraging them to take the next step in the relationship with us, as well as in evolving their own business. So 3 times a week, we send out emails with content and stories and value-added shares that are helping pour back into our email community because they've given us their time and attention, and we want to give them value back. So those are my personal daily and weekly non-negotiables. Now I can tell you, when you zoom out and you look at the big plan, all of these habits have contributed to me being able to build a business that does 7 figures in revenue, pays me a healthy 6-figure income, and working a really optimal lifestyle for me, especially in this season of my life. And we've been able to, since getting into business, do, I think, a little over 6 million in revenue. And it wouldn't have happened if I didn't have these daily and weekly non-negotiables. Some of you might think that this is a little bit woo-woo, but we were just having a conversation with some of our clients last week about why they're not building their audience and authority as fast as they would like. And it's because they're not consistent with publishing content or doing that weekly video or reaching out to 3 new prospects every single day. Like, those little daily non-negotiables add up. If you're reaching out to 25 new people every single day and you're reading 10 pages and you're sharing value through publishing content and you're releasing your weekly video, like, those goals of you having a certain size business or a certain level of authority or a certain size email list or taking home a certain amount of income or a certain relationship with your spouse, these daily non-negotiables are the small behaviors that, if you do them daily and weekly, will lead you to your goal. Like my friend Phil says, behave your way to your goals. I hope this serves you in some way, shape, or form. You may not have any of this written down. You may realize, hey, I need to get my act together. And if that's what this video did for you, I'm super stoked that you're going to kind of take some of these goals more seriously and hold yourself accountable by creating your own daily and weekly non-negotiables. See you in the next one.